Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahawashi, Bahasham, Barakahak Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya coming at you with another lesson. And I'm going to start it off in 2nd Esdras chapter 9 in the Apocrypha, verse 1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, which is exactly what the men of the Lord are doing, chiefly of GMS or Great Millstone, as well as the brothers coming in the spirit of GMS, who, are the main ones going into prophecy of the current times we're living in, and damn sure not sugarcoating anything for you, especially when it comes to the mark of the BEAST in Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 to 18. As we get closer and closer to the end, hey, everyone will know that a prophet had been among them and who Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi was dealing with. But again, the men of the Lord are measuring the times diligently by watching the news and current events and filtering it through the scriptures to go out onto the highways and byways to preach this word, as well as put up video epistles like this. And when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made, to judge you people for all the wickedness you've been committing. Verse 3, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes in diverse places, as it says in Matthew chapter 24, and just the other week, what did you have? That major earthquake in Myanmar with aftershocks all the way to, I think it was in Bangkok, Thailand. And I think right now the death tolls around 2,500 to 3,000 people, maybe even more. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. And we can clearly see that the end of this current age of the heathens ruling, chiefly of the biblical Edomites or so-called white people, is manifesting itself. And the next thing to come is going to be the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of Israel, or Yasharallah, under the true children of Israel, known as the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans today. Hey, but some of these signs to let us know that these things are quickly coming to pass is, as it said, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, which is what I'll be dealing with in this video. And the first article I'll be going to is on BBC.com, titled Anti-Trump Protests Held in Cities Across the U.S. Crowds of protesters gathered in cities across the U.S. on Saturday to denounce President Trump in the largest nationwide show of opposition since the president took office in January. The hands-off protest planners aimed to hold rallies in 1,200 locations, including in all 50 U.S. states. Hundreds of thousands of people turned out in Boston, Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, and Washington, D.C., among other cities. Protesters cited grievances with Trump's agenda, ranging from social to economic issues. And, with these tariffs put in place and things about to ramp up with that, and, the economic situation, which is already dire for the majority of Americans out here, gets worse and worse, you're going to see these protests ramp up more and more. And right now, it's just throwing words because people are comfortable. But eventually, it's going to get to these people throwing hands and especially throwing lead at each other. Coming days after Trump's announcement that the U.S. would impose import tariffs on most countries around the world, gatherings were also held outside the U.S., including in London, Paris, and Berlin. Uproars of the people in the world. In Boston, some protesters said they were motivated by immigration raids on U.S. university students that have led to arrests and deportation proceedings. And, I recently did a video where a guy on TikTok was calling for people to delete ICE members if, they rolled up on people, in unmarked vehicles or had their face covers, and said they were well within their rights to do so. Hey, this whole immigration thing is just another issue and a whole host of issues linked to Donald Trump that's going to get these people riled out here. Law student Katie Smith told BBC News that she was motivated by Turkish international student Rümeysa Öztürk, whose arrest near Boston area Tufts University by masked U.S. agents was caught on camera last month. "You can stand up today or you can be taken later," she said, adding, "I'm not usually a protest girly." In London, protesters held signs reading WTAF America, "Stop hurting people," and "He's an idiot." They chanted "Hands off Canada," "Hands off Greenland," and "Hands off Ukraine," referencing Trump's changes to U.S. foreign policy. Trump has repeatedly expressed interests in annexing Canada and Greenland. He also got into a public dispute with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and has struggled to negotiate a peace deal with Ukraine and Russia. But I'm going to jump down to the last few paragraphs of this article, because all this protesting, it's not going to change a goddamn thing. Just as, protests in the past haven't changed a goddamn thing. The powers that be know you people, are just all talk right now. It's going to have to get to the point to where, hey, it gets physical, which, that's all what's going to happen according to biblical prophecy. But now, right here. One of Trump's top immigration advisors, Tom Homan, told Fox News on Saturday that protesters held a rally outside of his New York home, but that he was in Washington at the time. "They can protest a vacant house all they want," Homan said, adding that their presence tied up law enforcement and prevented officials from seeing to more important tasks. "Protests and rallies don't mean anything," Homan continued. "So go ahead and exercise your First Amendment free speech rights. It's not going to change the facts of the case." So point blank, period. The powers that be, they say, hey, fuck it and fuck you. We're going to keep doing what we're going to do. And, the situation is just going to get worse out here. But, that protest happened on, I believe it was April 5th. And as we'll see in this article from Newsweek.com, hey, more protests, anti-Trump protests are planned. Nationwide anti-Trump protests planned for April 19th. A group who took part in the major hands-off protests against President Donald Trump have organized another day of action. The 5501 group is promoting nationwide protests in all 50 U.S. states on the same day against the Trump administration on April 19th. The April 5th hands-off protests marked the largest day of public demonstration against Trump during his second term. Thousands protested in cities across the U.S. and internationally. The group hopes that an upcoming demonstration sees a similar turnout. Hey, but remember what old Tom Homan said, hey, keep talking, and we're going to be the ones that are doing the walking out here. 5501 is again calling for protests in all 50 states against the Trump administration on April 19th. In social media posts, the group stated that they want 3.5% of the U.S. population, more than 11 million people, to participate. They cite this figure as the threshold for sustained resistance in order to make a difference. 5501 said the April 19th demonstration will be to protest against what they describe as a hostile government takeover overseen by the Trump administration. The grassroots group has previously held nationwide demonstrations under its mantra, 50 protests, 50 states, one movement, including on February 9th. They also organized a No King's Day protest on February 17th, as well as a third demonstration opposing Trump on March 4th. So as we can see, uproars of the people truly are taking place, not just in the U.S., but in the world as well. And the situation will get worse out here. There's gonna be no going back. The end is manifesting, and these are just the signs of it. And like I've been saying throughout the video, it's gonna go from people, peacefully protesting and throwing words at each other to throwing lead at each other. Blood will flow through the streets of the United States of America. Let's get back to these precepts. This is Isaiah chapter 19. I'm going to start at verse 2. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. And this is talking about the Americans, chiefly these Edomite or so-called white people Americans. But hey, you other nations here who are Americans are going to be going at it. Because as pursuant to Revelation 11 verse 8, America is spiritual Egypt. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight, not talk. Everyone against his brother and everyone against his neighbor, city against city and kingdom against kingdom. And with those two articles we were reading from, the catalyst for these protests have been Donald Trump and his policies. And as brothers, including myself, have been saying, hey, Donald Trump is looking like he's that cruel Lord in verse 4. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord, Yahweh of hosts. And Donald Trump's been, running roughshod since inauguration, signing executive orders left, right, front, and center. ICE rounding people up, and, even though they were illegal immigrants, they were labeled as gang members when it was found out that they were not, and sent to El Salvadorian, hardcore prisons. You got, you so-called Negroes of the Southern Kingdom. And y'all are starting to get hemmed up at these different, airports. Prices are going to rise due to these tariffs. The economic situation is going to continue to deteriorate. And Donald Trump is all on board in going to war against Iran at the behest of the state of Israel. So, hey, he very well is looking like that fierce king ruling over the people, these Americans or these Egyptians. And, as I say, we're getting to the point to where there's going to be that straw that broke the camel's back. And these people, hey, they're going to take it to the government as well as take it to each other. But I'm going to close it out in 2nd Esdras chapter 15. I'm going to start at verse 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, destruction, judgment. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another. And that can go into one race of people fighting against another, nations against nations, as it says in Matthew 24:7. Political groups, Republicans versus Democrat, class warfare, citizen versus illegal immigrant, or just immigrants in general, regular people going against the government, etc., etc. And brother shall fight against brother, city against city, neighbor against neighbor, you name it. And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. And that modern day sword in America is that kinetic device, that gun. For there shall be sedition among men. And the definition for the word sedition is conduct or speech inciting open rebellion against a ruling authority or monarch. And hey, we're seeing seditious talks towards Donald Trump, with these protests, and it's only going to intensify. And invading one another, getting physical. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, these people in the government, as well as the authorities that uphold the system, like the police or the military. And, you've already got people, not regarding their kings nor princes with these ICE raids, talking about code words to use online if you see ICE pull up, and how to, not allow people to get hemmed up by them. And hey, like I said earlier, I did a video recently on how a guy was on TikTok saying that, hey, people should, delete ICE agents out here. And the course of their actions shall stand in their power. People are going to be getting it how they live out here. And it's going to be bloody. But that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere, Akim, and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We are almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babol, Kwam Yasharella, and until next time, Shalom.